Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I'm going to give all glory, all honor, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, to the whole collective Israel. This is your brother Shemar Shawan. Come back with another lesson. This lesson is regarding the Sabbath restrictions, what we can and cannot do on the Sabbath, on the weekly Sabbath, all right, as it pertains to the commandments of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So let's go to Genesis 1 and 31. It says, "And Yahweh saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day." So we got to understand, first of all, how to recognize Yahweh's days, right? So when that sun goes down, two things happen simultaneously. The day ends and begins. Okay, the day ends and begins simultaneously when that sun goes down. So let's look at this word "even" here, right? Let's get it and understand what it is, because the Sabbath is going to end. It's like the Sabbath is going to start when the sun sets, not when it's a black sky. So it's going to be even, right? It's going to appear to be as the sun is rising, right? That's why it's called even. Okay, so here it is right here. Here it is.
Strong's H 6153. Erev.
Okay, there it is. So when we go down to the outline of biblical usage, we're going to see it says evening, night, sunset, evening, sunset. Okay, right? So it's not a complete black sky. It's when that sun sets. That's when Yahweh's days end and begin simultaneously. Okay, so now let's go over to Genesis chapter 2, right? And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. It says, "On the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it," right? Because that in it he had rested from all his work which Yahweh created and made, right? So this is when Yahweh is establishing his Sabbath, right? The seventh day of the week, right? That we have to comply to, all right? Or we're commanded to comply to this commandment of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, to observe his Sabbath, right? And if Yahweh says the same, we're going to see that there are two types of Sabbath, right? You're going to have the weekly Sabbath, right? Which is called the Shabbath. It's called the Shabbath. That's the weekly Sabbath. All right, and we're going to see how Yahweh is going to implement restrictions on the weekly Sabbath, which is called the Shabbath. Okay, so let's go over to Exodus 31. Let's go to Exodus 31. We'll pick it up at verse 12. Exodus 31 and 12. "On this wise it says, and Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, and that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death." See how serious this is? So this is what, Mashiach brings, is that mercy from Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. If you recall, not complying to the weekly Sabbath or the high days, Yahweh would kill you, all right? So, Yahweh, he understands we're in Babylon here, and we're dispersed throughout the world. It says, "For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people." 15, it says, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work, in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. 16, it says, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. So we see this is a perpetual covenant forever and ever. We have to observe these, the weekly Sabbath as well as the high Sabbath. Right? 17, it says, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. See that? For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. 18, it says, and he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimonies, tables of stone, written with the finger of Yahweh Ba'asham Habashah. So we see that Yahweh is sanctioning and commanding us to keep his Sabbath. This is extremely important to Yahweh Ba'asham Habashah. So we have to understand the restrictions, what we can and we cannot do on the Sabbath, okay? So here, let's go to Leviticus 23. Let's stay in the law. Let's go to Leviticus 23, right? So now we saw the weekly Sabbath, and we're going to understand the weekly Sabbath, what we can and cannot do on that weekly Sabbath, right? Here, let me just get some stipulations for the weekly Sabbath. Okay, these are the stipulations. No buying or selling. No servile work. Right, servile work is when you I'm going outside cutting my grass, washing the car, doing all kinds of stuff like that. Now remember, Mashiach, brings that mercy from Yahweh Ba'asham Habashah. So if we have to work in this captivity, we would minimize, all of that in terms of, implementing the Sabbath rules. We would get all our food, water, stuff like that, all the essentials that we need, to secure us during that Sabbath day. But say, for example, if you're on your way to work and, you kind of, because remember we could so consumed here in Babylon. Say if you're going to work and you run out of gas, what do you do? Do you go and buy gas? What do you do? But if Yahweh say the same, we'll address that issue a little later, okay? So, again, with the weekly Sabbath, right, no buying or selling, no sex, no servile work, right, is permitted, no cooking, any of that stuff, is permitted on the weekly Sabbath. Here, let's go over to Exodus. Let's stay in Exodus. And we're going to go to Exodus chapter 35 real quick. Let's go to Exodus 35. We're going to see something right here regarding buying and selling here. Or, Exodus 35 and 3. It says, ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. So we see we can't cook, right? And so a lot of us try to be slick in terms of using a microwave. We can't use a microwave. Anything that, causes the food to heat is actually cooking it. Say for example, if your food is done already and you pop it in a microwave and you microwave it, you're actually cooking it, right? So we can't do any of that stuff, So, normally what we do is just, prepare on the prep day, which is the 6th day, where we're going to eat fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, maybe some sandwiches or whatever, your heart desire, okay? Let's go to Exodus 16 and understand these Sabbath restrictions and these Sabbath rules. Let's go to Exodus 16. We're going to pick it up at verse 23. It says, and he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath, right? Unto Yahweh, bake that which ye will bake today, and see that which ye will seethe, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to keep until the morning. So we would prepare our foods on Fridays before that sun goes down. You prepare everything, make sure everything, is sufficient. No cooking, all that stuff, cleaning, all that stuff, is done on the prep day. so you can partake of it on the Sabbath. Okay, so let's get some more in here, some more restrictions. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58, and understand, right? Playing video games, and we can't do stuff like that. Anything that's associated with pleasure, we cannot do that. Okay, so this is Isaiah 58:13. It says, "If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, holy of Yahweh," right? Slap about that. Holy of Yahweh, right? Honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words. See that? So nothing we should be doing anything, I'm saying, that is pleasing to us. This day is devoted, I'm saying, to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahushua. And all, man, Yahweh is just so beautiful. Out of 7 days, he just requires one day for him. He could have required, the entire week. He could have, required 2 days or 3 days. But out of 7 days, I'm saying, Yahweh only requires one day. So I think, that's a reasonable command, right? Khan, right? So 14, it says, "Then shall thou delight thyself in Yahweh, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of Yahweh hath spoken it." So these are the Sabbath rules that we have to comply with, right? We have to comply to these things, okay? Let's get another one. Let's go to Amos, right? Because our forefathers was wanting to buy and sell. They were just so thirsty. And so we're going to understand what this is if Yahweh say the same. Let's go to Amos chapter 8 and 5. We'll pick this thing up. See, look at this. Amos 8 and 5, it says, saying, "When will the new moon be gone?" Now, this new moon right here, Israel, is referring to the blowing of the trumpets, right? The blowing of the trumpets. The blowing of the trumpets is the only high day, right, or new moon that we have to comply to, right, in regards to buying and selling, right? We cannot buy on those days, okay, right? Or sell on those days, okay? So the Amos 8:5 is regarding the high day, right? Or the blowing of the trumpets. That's what that's talking about, right? Okay, right? Because remember, I'm saying, the blowing of the trumpets is the only new moon that we have. We have restrictions like that. Okay, the other 11 we don't have restrictions like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, so. It says, saying, "When will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn?" See that? "And the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit." And look how scandalous they are. Man, look how deceitful these people are. Our people are, right? Look at 6, it says, "That we may buy the poor for silver." So you can't buy or sell, right? On the high Sabbath or the weekly Sabbath, right? Yep. See that? And the needy for a pair of shoes, yeah, and sell the refuse of the week. So we see we can't buy or sell on any other of Yahweh's high days, even the high feast days or the weekly Sabbath. We can't buy or sell on those days. And if Yahweh said the same, we'll see the restrictions that are included on the high Sabbath day. We want to just kind of knock out these restrictions on the weekly feast days and get the understanding, right? So that we may comply, right? So let's go to Nehemiah. We'll see it again in Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah. 10. You got to understand these restrictions. So this is Nehemiah 10 and 31. It says, and if the people of the land bring ware or any visuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it on them. It's like that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath, right? Or on the holy day, right? Let's make a distinction there, right? Between the weekly Sabbath and the high Sabbath. It says, and that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every debt. Okay, so that's a whole different circumstance right there, right? So we see, the restrictions of buying and selling, right, on the Sabbath, on the weekly Sabbath, as well as the high Sabbath. Okay, there are restrictions. Okay, let's stay in Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah 13. Let's go to Nehemiah 13. We're going to pick it up at verse 15. Right? Nehemiah 13:15. It says, in those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens. We're not supposed to carry a burden like that. You know what I'm saying? Which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, and I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. We can't carry burdens on the Sabbath like that. Now we'll see, for the high Sabbath, like say Feast of Tabernacles, Pentecost, if we're carrying, items in that are associated with those feast days, then we can do that, okay? But on the weekly Sabbath, we can't, no burdens, okay? 16, it says, there dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our power bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. Look at this. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be set, and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath, Israel. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Okay, look at this. 20, it says, so the merchants and sellers of all kinds of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them, and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. So Nehemiah was going to kick some tail. Yeah, he told them. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath. So we see how serious Yahweh's Sabbath is. Yahweh's Sabbath is extremely serious, right? We don't play with Yahweh's Sabbaths, right? Any of them. So, that's why Yahweh is giving us 6 days to do all what we need to do. And on the seventh day, we have to comply, and conform to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, and to the restrictions that he commands us on the weekly Sabbath. So we see all those different restrictions, right, which is a good thing, on the weekly Sabbath. But now remember, I mentioned earlier, say, we're in Babylon here, and you're commanded to work, right? Yahweh understands you have to take care of your family. He gets all of that. So all we would do, is implement all of the Sabbath rules, okay? Say, for example, if I'm driving to work and I forgot to buy gas or whatever it is, am I going to sit there, and look crazy like that? No, you can go and purchase gas, right? Buy gas. I wouldn't go and get a soda pop and chips and all of that stuff, but I would get all the requirements, all the essentials that I need, to get me going and to make me whole again, okay? So now Mashiach is going to talk about that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, because Mashiach, Yahushua is going to give the analogy on that, right? So this is Matthew chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, "And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered, and they asked him, right, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days, that they might accuse him? And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out?" Right? It says, "How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath day." To do well on the Sabbath day. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, say for example, if the plumbing, in your house, stops up or whatever, you're just going to disregard that. If it's a problem like that, you can call, the plumber, and do what you need to do, or do well on the Sabbath day. Okay. So now we understand the weekly Sabbath, right? We understand that, right? So now we need to understand the high Sabbath and how we approach the high Sabbath, because we're going to see a few different circumstances that we're able to accomplish on the high Sabbath, as opposed to the weekly Sabbath. So now remember, the high Sabbath is going to be what? It's going to be Passover, right? It's going to be the Passover. It's going to be first fruits, Pentecost. It's going to be the tabernacles, right? And gathering, right? Those high Sabbath, all right? You're going to see those, okay? Right? Those are the ones that we, some of the restrictions are eased, okay? So let's go over to Leviticus chapter 23, right? And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. It says, "And Yahweh said, and Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh." See, these are feasts, or these high days right here that we see, okay, which I just mentioned, Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. See, which ye shall proclaim to be, see, these are holy convocations or high feast days. Even these are my feasts, right? Let's jump down to verse 4. It says, "These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season." Now, this word season is going to tell us something, right? Let's go to the word season here, and let's get it. Here it is right here.
Strong's H 4150. Moed.
Okay, there it is. So when we go down to the outline of biblical uses, we'll see it's going to be, appointed place, appointed time, appointed meeting, right? Just like you have a dental appointment, at 10:30 a.m. If you get there, at 12 noon, then people are going to say, "Hey, listen, you missed your appointment." So, these feast days are appointed times, that are very specified and significant to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, okay? So we have to understand those things, right? So we're going to see that this high feast day, right? Here, let's get it real quick. Slakia. This high feast day is going to be Slakia H. It's going to be H76, 77, right? And here it is right here. Let me get it.
Strong's H 7677. Shabbathon.
Right. So we see it's called the Shabbathon or Shabbawan. Shabbawan, that's what it's called. So that's a high feast day. So when you go down to the outline of biblical usage, you're going to see like Feast of Tabernacles, blowing of the trumpets, you know what I'm saying? Day of Atonement, you know what I'm saying? What else? Passover, first fruits. These are high feast days, right? Or Sabbaths, right? The different, from the weekly Shabbat, right? So on these days, we're able to, let's get it right. We're able to cook on those days. Anything that's pertaining, to the and associated, what I'm saying, with the high feast days, cooking and maybe a little cleaning, not cleaning your house out like that, but whatever's associated with the high feast days, we can do that. Of course, no sex, right? No servile work, right? So I couldn't go out, and dig no hole just because I wanted to dig, whatever. You fix the roof on your house. The work that we're doing is associated, with the high feast day, right? So that's how we understand that, right? So here, let's get it real quick. So, and again, if it's associated with the high, it's got to be associated with the high feast day. It's going to be H. Let me see, 56. Let me see if we get it. Right. Right. So we'll see, and we'll read earlier, and we'll read later. It'll say no servile work, and servile work is going to be like labor, service, work, something pertaining to something that's not associated, with the high feast day. Okay, and so here, let's go get it. Right, let's go back over to Leviticus 23, and we'll see it right here. No servile work, but you could cook. Anything associated, with the feast day, you can do those things. Cleaning associated with the feast day, right? But not doing our own pleasure, as we read earlier in Isaiah 58, right? So let me see. Let's get it. All right. So, for example, let's go to Let's go to Leviticus 23:36. It says, right? It says, 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh Ba'asham. We know we don't do that anymore. This is regarding the Feast of Tabernacles. It says, on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto Yahweh, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. No, we don't do that. It is a solemn assembly, or a high feast day. See, and ye shall do no servile work therein. Going and cutting the grass and doing anything that's not associated, with the feast day. So, in summary, I pray that this class is edifying to you in terms of understanding, what the Sabbath rules and restrictions are on the weekly Sabbath, right, as opposed to the high Sabbath. Okay. So once again, I want to give all glory, all honor, all praises to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.